Chapter 6. The Debate. February started and Harry's polls didn't improve. They even started to go door to door to get students to see how nice Harry is. Though Ron hadn't lost any Quidditch matches, popularity didn't come his way. Unfortunately, most people don't really care about school sports. Harry advocated to stop Malfoy from eating puppies on the evening news, but nothing helped. Harry's speeches each attracted a small audience that was extremely reluctant to show any sign of support for him. It was like talking to a wall. Every now and then, Malfoy would run past the group shouting about having 4 or 5 voters. Neville's, or rather Moaning Joanne's, campaign was booming. The polls predicted they would win in a landslide. It wasn't just because of the bathroom scandal. It seemed every day there was another terrible front-page story being printed in the Fictum Post. Harry Potter is a were-kangaroo, making him the monster of Hogwarts. Harry Potter's owl does drugs, making him the owl drug use advocate of Hogwarts. Harry Potter cannot read, making him the illiterate of Hogwarts. Harry Potter is a cake sniffer, whatever that means. Everything was riding on the Triwizard Tournament. How could anyone believe the winner of something like that could do anything bad? Dumbledore announced the first task during breakfast on the first day of February. He called the champions to the front of the room. To complete the first task, you will need to retrieve a golden egg and place it here. He pointed to a wooden table with 4 silver bowls that each had one of the champions' names taped on them. Neville listened to his earpiece. Got it, he said quietly. I bet all we have to do is ask Hagrid. Giants always know about golden geese who lay golden eggs. I'd be careful, Neville, Fred warned. You know how that story ends, don't you? Jack gets away? Neville said nervously. Not in our version, George answered. Fee-fi-fo-fum, Hagrid started. I smell the blood of an Englishman. Hagrid, Dumbledore called. Mind your age. Dumbledore directed his attention back to the tournament. You'll have until tomorrow to bring a golden egg to your bowl. Good luck. With the applause of the other students, the 4 champions split up after they got out of the cafeteria. Hermione and Ron followed Harry. Where would they hide a golden egg? Ron asked. Eggs belong in the kitchen, Harry said. Could be the cafeteria kitchen or Snape's classroom. Then let's go check them, Hermione prompted. They walked to the kitchen first since it was closer, and they didn't find any golden eggs. After Ron asked the cooks if they had used any golden eggs in this morning's omelets, they leisurely walked to Snape's room with the cold stares of the cooks on their backs. The room was empty, and the lack of light made the space look eerie. The usual noise from the classes was also gone, leaving a weird feeling in the air. Harry found the light switch and reached toward it. Before his hand got to the switch, all the lights flickered on. Huh, Harry shrugged, retreating his hand. They went to each refrigerator looking for golden eggs. The fridge nearest to the window had exactly what they were looking for. 4 golden eggs were placed in the door. They took one and walked back outside the room, making sure to physically turn the lights back off. By the time they returned to the cafeteria, Dumbledore was still there and was very surprised to see them. That was fast. Are they all this easy? Harry asked as he placed the egg in his bowl. No, Dumbledore answered flatly. Some of the students clapped for Harry. The other 3 competitors still hadn't returned. This gave Harry hope that the Triwizard Tournament would really help him get his voters back. By the end of the day, Fleur Delacour, sporting a black cap that said Rebel in all caps, had handed in a papier-mâché egg that was painted gold. Cedric and Victor didn't seem to be worried about the task. They weren't searching the castle or working on any arts and crafts projects. The next day, it still puzzled Harry, Ron, and Hermione that they didn't seem to care about the tournament at all. All made sense when they got packages in the mail. They opened them and put the contents in their bowls just before time ran out. Dumbledore walked into the cafeteria and examined the eggs. The champions stood in front of the room while other students watched from their tables. I ordered mine online and got overnight shipping, Cedric said. As did I, and mine is made out of real gold, Victor said pompously. What a git, Hermione said. Just because you can afford real gold doesn't mean you'll win. I'd think you would find him rebellious and edgy, Ron said with a smirk. Hermione shook her head in disgust. But I actually made one! They just bought those on the internet, Fleur whined. The directions were to find a golden egg within the castle, Dumbledore clarified. That is not what you said, Victor disagreed. First, you said, you will need to retrieve a golden egg and place it here. Shortly after, you said, you'll have until tomorrow to bring a golden egg to your bowl. Nothing about finding a hidden egg around the castle. 12 of my lawyers happened to get it on tape. Victor smiled. Dumbledore searched for a way to give Harry the points he deserved. There seemed to be no way out of his previous statements. What am I thinking? I run this school. Harry gets the points. You don't get any. Dumbledore, Hagrid called. Mind your age. Dumbledore cleared his throat. I will be clearer in my next announcement. A couple weeks passed, and Ron returned from one of his disappearances in a very good mood. He told Harry and Hermione that he had something to show them. He led them to the theater and opened the doors. The last time they had seen the theater was 2 years ago. Spiders were forming cities, lights kept burning out, the seats were worn out, and the stage was old and creaky. This time, they saw that it had been restored. The spiders were gone, there were new seats, new carpets, new stage curtains, the stage was new, the chandeliers were new, even the walls looked brand new. Everything was bright and shiny. Various people were scattered around, taking in the incredible transformation, including Victor Crumb, who was poking one of the new seats. His lawyers, of course, were nearby. Wow, this place looks incredible, Hermione said as she looked around. Yeah, Harry agreed. What happened? With the help of some friends, family, and licensed contractors, I arranged for this work to be done, Ron answered. Planning some plays? Hermione asked. Nope, I'm planning something even better. Tomorrow night will be the first King of Hogwarts debate. I've already set it up with the Fictum News Network. We'll have live coverage and the moderator will be Colin Creevey. Then everyone will have to listen, Harry exclaimed. I can tell everyone at once that the scandals aren't true. I have something else to show you. Ron led them outside. He stood next to something covered in a tarp. Since the campus is so big, I got you this. He pulled the tarp off and revealed a golf cart. The cart was painted gold and the frame was black. The suntop roof and the cushioned seats were scarlet. The cart had 2 rows of seats that would each fit 2 people. It took a little aggressive negotiation, but they finally agreed to install both the cooler and the club and ball washer kit. Why would we need so many golf accessories? Hermione asked as she looked over the golf cart. I figure we'll be playing a lot of golf once we win the election, Ron answered. Do you think there are any golf courses around here? Harry asked. We're in Scotland. I'm sure there are, Ron answered. He brought them to the front of the cart and pointed to some writing. I've named it Ground Force 1. Those 3 words lived proudly on the hood of the golf cart. At first, Dumbledore didn't want us to have a golf cart, but he changed his mind when I offered to buy him one. Since we have 4 seats, we can offer rides in exchange for votes, Harry suggested. That, sounds illegal, but sure, Hermione exclaimed. They spent the rest of the day giving rides and slowly gaining votes. Once sunset began, they decided to go inside to prepare for the debate. Hermione and Ron asked him several questions. The night of the debate arrived, and Harry was well practiced. The theater was filling with students, while those who were important to the event were backstage. It was busy and loud. Several reporters were around getting exclusive interviews, candidates were looking at their notes, and crew members rushed around setting things up for the broadcast. It looks like everyone is going to show up in the theater. Why broadcast it? Harry asked as he peeked through the stage curtains. Because the Fictum Post news network isn't just a local channel anymore, Ron informed. They've gone global. Not sure why. The only people who care about Hogwarts news besides students are some parents. Might be because of the comedy shows. I've seen them and they are pretty funny. What comedy shows? Hermione asked. They're late-night shows that start after the evening news. They've got a 24-hour lineup. A reporter rushed over to the group. Mr. Potter, Lee Jordan called. Can I get a quick photo and interview for the paper? Of course, citizen. Lee? Hermione questioned. You switched jobs? Nope, I'm still commentating Quidditch. It's fun and it pays well. But this job? Do you know how much I'm getting paid? It's mad. Anyway, Harry, your campaign theme reminds us of comics with powerful superheroes. What's with that shtick? I'm a superhero, Harry posed. Lee took the opportunity to get a picture. Very informative, yes. So how are you doing tonight? Fantastic, Harry exclaimed. You think you're gonna win? Absolutely. No one else has a chance. What do you think about the other candidates? Why should we vote for you and not them? Neville's an empty shell and Malfoy's a snake. They're not going to do anything for this school. I, however, have kept everyone safe for almost 4 years just as a hobby. I'm going to end the Riction, fight for our rights, and change Moaning Joanne's stupid decisions. Sounds good, Lee said, scribbling on his notepad. Finally, how did you come up with your campaign slogan? A girl with extremely pale skin and short curly blonde hair rushed past them. She wore 6-inch heels and took lots of tiny, quick steps. She vigorously waved her hands around, warning everyone backstage that the candidates were to enter the stage in less than 3 minutes. Lee ran off to get other interviews while Hermione and Ron wished Harry luck before going to their seats in the audience. Harry went to the right wing and waited. Malfoy and Neville joined him and took turns giving each other malicious glares. It was a weird stair triangle that Harry was dragged into. He watched the stage for his cue. 3 wooden podiums were alone on the stage. A table seating Colin Creevey was placed in front of the stage. After Colin almost knocked over his mic while organizing his papers, Harry spotted Ron and Hermione. They sat in the front row and each gave Harry a thumbs up when they noticed him looking their way. The house lights dimmed, quieting the voices of the audience, and the same pale girl from before walked onto the stage from the left wing. Her steps were still small, but they were a lot slower. She waved to the applauding students and stopped in front of the middle podium. Holding a microphone, she waited for the audience to settle down. Welcome, everyone, to the first ever King of Hogwarts debate. The wireless mic did its job well, but it wasn't on par with other microphones. I'm Sarita Skeeter, president of the Fictum Post news network and the daughter of the legendary journalist Rita Skeeter. My loyal subordinate, Colin Creevy, will be moderating this debate, and I have high hopes that he will do a fair job. The audience applauded as she walked back to the left wing. Malfoy led the way onto the stage as Colin Creevy began talking. Our candidates are Draco Malfoy, Neville Longbottom, and Harry Potter. Ron and Hermione almost launched out of their seats as they clapped loudly for Harry. Harry could feel the heat of the bright lights on his skin as he stood at the podium. He could only see the first couple rows, everything beyond was too dark. He tried to avert his eyes from the blinding lights by looking down at Colin. I will be asking several questions tonight. Some are from the Fictum Post and others are from Hogwarts students. Each candidate will have 1 minute to answer. We will not allow a millisecond more. We will escort any candidate out of the theater if they continue to talk after they hear the buzzer. For your time management, we have a stoplight system in place. Green means 60 seconds, yellow means 1, and red means you had better not be talking. Any questions? Do we have the allowance to object? Malfoy asked. You may rebut. I will now ask each candidate for an opening statement. Mr. Malfoy, will start with you and go across the row. You have 1 sentence. I was almost killed. I did not want to be almost killed. I did not get any pity votes. Besides that, I do not fear those who wish to kill me. I am fearless. I am the best thing that has ever happened to this terrible school. Vote for me or else I will be sad, but mostly mad. Thank you, Mr. Malfoy, Colin said. Run-on sentences are now banned. You must be grammatically correct in your answers and statements. Mr. Longbottom, go on. Neville remained still. After an awkward pause, he began his sentence. I am not a crook. Thank you. Mr. Potter? I vow to continue my mission as the protector of Hogwarts if I am elected as king, Harry announced boldly. Colin looked at the teleprompter just below his camera. The Almost Daily Prophet is a proud sponsor of the King of Hogwarts debate. Tired of school news? Read the Almost Daily Prophet or suffer the consequences. Realizing what he just said, he looked down at his notes. It actually says that. Anyway, on to our first question. Draco Malfoy, why do you want to run for King of Hogwarts? You have 1 minute. I desire power, he answered flatly. Okay then. Does anyone want to respond? Colin asked. The answer speaks for itself, Harry replied. Colin glanced down at his clipboard. Neville Longbottom, what will you do to improve the school? Neville stood mindlessly for several seconds. I will remove the insanity and stupidity. I will stop clowns like Harry Potter from being clowns. I will rebuild the story and make the voices of the silent majority heard. The audience applauded. Would anyone like to respond? Colin asked. Malfoy nodded as he laid both his hands on the podium. We make a big fire and, hear me out, we burn the school down. Students and teachers included. We start over with the best of us. Yeah! McGonagall cheered as the rest of the crowd booed. Malfoy stared at the students furiously. When I'm elected, you are all going in the flames. None of you are the best. I am the only best. Mr. Potter, Colin started, would you like to comment? Yes, Harry answered. I hereby promise to not murder anyone with fire. Wow, he's not going to light us on fire. What a nice guy, Luna Lovegood said from the audience. He's got my vote. I will fire our corrupt teachers, advocate for the students, and protect the school from the Death Eaters, and also Malfoy and his pyromania. The audience clapped for Harry. Thank you, Mr. Potter, Colin said before asking another question. How do you respond to the numerous scandals that have been brought up in this campaign? They are all exaggerations, if not complete lies. The only girls' bathroom I have ever entered is Moaning Joanne's, and that is to speak with her since she never leaves the room. I can read, and I'm sure I would be doing very well in my classes if assignments and tests were graded. I have never banished anyone to a cabinet under the stairs. My owl does not do drugs. I am not a were-kangaroo. I can eat bok choy, I just choose not to. I did not fabricate my pet Rock's kidnapping to get the insurance money. Harry noticed the yellow light and stopped talking, though it didn't feel like a minute had passed. The buzzer sounded and Colin spoke again. Any responses or rebuttals? Yes, Malfoy hissed. I have personally seen Harry Potter turn into a were-kangaroo, and I witnessed his owl, Hedwig, smoking a joint just yesterday. The shocked crowd burst into conversation. Lies! Harry denied. It's true, Neville exclaimed. I saw Hedwig as well as Pigwidgeon returning from Mexico on one of their weekly drug runs. Ron stood up in the chaotic audience. Leave Pig alone, he's high on life. Mr. Potter, Colin shouted, how do you respond to these allegations? None of them are true, Harry maintained. They're utter lies. Harry Potter just said cows are pathological liars, Malfoy shouted. That's not what I said, Harry insisted. Malfoy started chanting, Harry hates cows. Harry hates cows. Neville joined in chanting along with many of the students. Harry hates cows. Harry hates cows. Harry hates cows. We'd like to thank our anonymous sponsor for their proud sponsorship, Colin said calmly amidst the disarray. We will now take a short commercial break. The curtains closed and hid the candidates from the audience. They stopped arguing as Sarita Skeeters stomped over to them. What on earth are you three doing? This is supposed to be a debate, a civilized discussion between candidates. Never have I seen anything more juvenile and disgusting. Harry hung his head low until he heard the wings of a bird. Pigwidgeon flew in and headed straight for Neville. The tiny owl pecked him in the face and then flew away. Sarita looked even angrier. None of you are fit to be the King of Hogwarts. You should be part of that silent majority that one of you went on about. You ought to be ashamed of yourselves. She marched off the stage and the curtains began to open. Welcome back to the King of Hogwarts debate, Colin said to the camera as the crowd settled down. Our next question is to Mr. Malfoy. Is it true that you tried to eat a Hufflepuff, objectively the most adorable dog breed? Several audience members gasped. No, I've never tried to eat any of our canine friends. Any rebuttals? Colin asked. Malfoy is lying, Harry stated. I was the one who stopped him. He was putting salt on the 2-week-old puppy. Too much, by the way. Everyone in the audience was shocked. What? Puppies taste way better with a lot of salt. It's the best rock, Malfoy said. You eat rocks? You monster! Harry shouted. Neville started speaking. The students have a right to know who's a crook. Malfoy is a crook. I am not a crook. Colin moved on to the next question. Are the rumors true about you being a puppet of Moaning Joanne? Neville took a sip of his water and then slowly put the glass down. No. Next question. Rubbish, Harry demanded. I am looking at your earpiece right now. Neville gasped. That's a hearing aid. Harry Potter hates the hearing impaired. I do not, Harry argued. Your ears are fine. All my ideas are my own, Malfoy responded. That's why they're all terrible, Harry said savagely. The crowd oohed. Okay, Colin started. Mr. Malfoy, is it true that you have an irrational fear of the word as? That would be a silly thing to be scared of. Then say it, Harry prompted. No, soap tastes so bad. Moving on, Mr. Potter, why did you want to join the Triwizard Tournament? To hone my skills so that I can protect the students from the Death Eaters, Harry answered. Rebut! Rebut! Malfoy yelled. You just want to look like a hero to win the election. The Death Eaters aren't a threat to anyone. Don't worry about them. Trust me. Trust you? What was that about a fire? Harry asked. Mr. Longbottom, would you like to respond to Mr. Malfoy? Colin asked. Neville touched his earpiece. Buzz, buzz, buzz. Buzz, buzz, buzz. Buzz, buzz, buzz. Colin looked irritated. Mr. Longbottom, I need not remind you that your statements must be grammatically correct, and unless you are a bee, don't act like one. After tapping his earpiece, Neville spoke again. And number 21 is running up the pitch with the ball. He shoots, he scores! The crowd erupted in conversation. Harry could see Sarita Skeeter furiously talking into a headset. Colin Creevey was listening to his own earpiece while trying to shut out the noise of the crowd from his other ear. Sarita stopped talking and Colin turned to his camera. That concludes the questions for our candidates. After the commercial break, we'll hear from our candidates' campaign managers. Harry's eyes widened as the curtains closed. Sarita stomped over to them once more. Since you three kids are making a zoo of the debate, we're throwing you out. With any luck, your campaign managers will be more refined. Go get your campaign managers up here now! Harry exited the stage through the right wing and walked down the steps into the house, rushing to Ron and Hermione. The auditorium was really loud and almost everyone was out of their seat. It looked horrible up there, Ron worried. It was, Harry said with a far-off expression. I'm surprised I made it back alive. I'd better go, Ron said as he looked to the stage. No, it's too dangerous, Hermione cried. Ron looked back to Hermione. I have to, for Hogwarts. Hermione, if I don't come back, I just want you to know. Sarita flew past them, grabbing Ron by the elbow. Clock's ticking, campaign managers! In just a few moments, the podiums were refilled and the curtains were opened. Colin looked at the camera, ready to speak. Our campaign managers are ready to debate. In this corner is Harry Potter's campaign manager, Ron Weasley. In that corner are Draco Malfoy's campaign managers, Vincent Crabbe and Gregory Goyle. In between them is... Wait, why is Neville still there? I don't hire lowly people to do my dirty work. I do it myself, Neville exclaimed. All right then, Colin said. What do you each think of your candidates? Mr. Crabbe, Mr. Goyle, you count as one person. We'll start with Mr. Weasley. You have 1 minute. Harry Potter is a great protector of Hogwarts, Ron began. He stops a lot of crime, and he'll do an even better job once he's king. He also has a very moral conscience. Colin nodded. Mr. Longbottom, you may now talk about yourself. I may regret this. Neville stood still. He then began his answer. I've actually met 6. They're the most stuck-up person you'll ever meet. A Ravenclaw that Hermione recognized stood up in the house. She's not stuck up, he said. Neville continued to talk. Just because you're a good goalie doesn't mean you own the game. Jeff, come on, we've talked about this. This isn't the time or place to insult players. Mr. Crabbe, Mr. Goyle, what do you think of Mr. Malfoy? Colin asked.
He's the best thing that's ever happened to this school.
Very nice. Mr. Weasley, what do you think about the rumors of you being a fugitive from Azkaban? Ron's confident smile disappeared. Colin went on. How about the rumor that you started an underground drug ring while incarcerated? How did you know? I mean, if that rumor is to be believed, it shows I made the most of my situation. Okay, thank you, Mr. Weasley. The next question is to Mr. Longbottom, Colin said. Is the reason you don't have a campaign manager because you don't have any friends? No, he answered. Ron shook his head. Neville is the campaign manager. The candidate is Moaning Joanne, but she won't leave the bathroom. The audience started whispering.
Ron Weasley does drugs,
Goyle shouted. The crowd gasped and the conversations became louder. Not anymore, Ron corrected. The audience became roars of voices. Number 14 is dribbling up the pitch, Neville added to the chaos.
Empty your pockets then,
Crabbe demanded. Number 3 is trying to intercept the dribble, Neville said as Ron took out a bunch of unmarked syrup packets. I just have maple syrup in my pockets, see? Ron said. 3 has control of the ball and is dribbling in the other direction.
Why would you have so much maple syrup?
Goyle asked. Because I'm Canadian, Ron answered.
I've never heard you say A.
Crabbe said. 14 is angry and he's chasing after 3. That's stereotypical. Besides, I say it all the time, eh? The ball has been intercepted by 35, but 14 is still chasing 3. Tackle! Professor McGonagall screamed.
What's in the maple syrup then? Drugs?
Goyle asked. 35 is on the way to the goal. That's only in the special kind, Ron insisted. 35 kicks past the goalie. He scores! The audience cheered and Sarita Skeeter heavily stomped around in the left wing. She put on her headset and began talking. The curtains closed and Colin Creevey began to talk. That concludes our first ever and probably last King of Hogwarts debate. Don't forget to vote. Sarita started shouting from the left wing. Everybody shut up! She walked over to them and continued to yell. I will never sponsor another one of your debates again. You are not worthy of the Fictum Post's approval. If any of you try to talk to me ever again, I will spread horrible lies about you through the news. She took a deep breath. And Ron, I am done running your political advertisements. Come on, Sarita, Ron said. Don't you think that's a little extreme? No. Ron stepped down from the stage and began to walk to Harry and Hermione. Sorry, guys. I thought this would help, but it just ended up making things worse. Sarita isn't even going to let us run our political ads anymore. We had political ads? Harry asked. Yeah, Ron answered glumly. They've been running for a while now. It's not your fault, Hermione said earnestly. You're an amazing campaign manager. Way better than Crabbe and Goyle, she laughed. The front rows were starting to vacate and move towards the back of the room near the doors. They spotted Dumbledore and Hagrid towards the side of the room, following the crowd. Harry, Hermione, and Ron walked over to say hello. Great job up there, Hagrid exclaimed once he noticed them. Dumbledore nodded. Yes, very well done. To everyone's surprise, the debate turned out to be an incredible success. It was just what they needed to get several undecided voters to decide. Almost every student planned on voting. Since Harry was able to address the scandals, he won back most of his voters. By the end of March, he was neck and neck with Moaning Neville. Malfoy lost 2 of his voters, making him livid whenever he thought of the election.